Hi YouTube and welcome back. I am here with my divorce story video. As promised, I told you guys I would come on here and update you guys with what went on as far as my divorce goes. So it's going to be pretty long, I'm sure, so let's just jump into it. Starting off in 2019, I believe like mid-September, my husband at the time had mentioned he wanted divorce. Now, during that time, we were looking for a home. I've been with my husband for 4 years. We got married in 2015, and then we had my son in 2016, kind of like a fairy tale story, to be honest. He was my first everything, first love, all of those good things. So anyways, fast forward to 2019, we were in the middle of buying a home. We had our own apartment. And one day he kind of just mentioned that he wasn't happy and he was depressed. And my approach was more so, we were in, our room, and he mentioned it, and my approach was more so like, when are you going to stop being depressed? Like, I get you, I understand you, like, we're both working like crazy. In the middle of that, like, as much as we wanted a house and as much as we were working towards that, something was missing for me as well. I wasn't happy. I wanted to be home with my family more. I was working full-time, managing a store, and just with my son at the time, he was 3, so obviously he needed me. And then Jeremy's schedule and my schedule were very opposite. So I would work 5 a.m., get off at 2:30, come home. Jeremy would go into work 3 to 11:30. I'd have my son all day. I was on like 3 or 4 hours of sleep every day. Sometimes I would close, so I wouldn't get home till 10 and then have to be back to work at 5. So looking back at it, and as soon as he mentioned divorce, I knew what went wrong and what we had to fix. We needed time together. We needed date nights. We needed to bring that spark back. I knew, what Jeremy was saying at the time, I don't think I'm in love with you anymore. I don't think I love you, blah, blah. Like, I knew that was just surfaced feelings, if that makes sense. I knew that that was just temporary. And I know that might sound cocky or whatever the case is, but I didn't want to accept it. Like, I knew what needed to be done. We needed God in our lives. It was crazy because that whole month before that, starting in August, I was waking up every morning, reading, the Bible, trying to get closer to God, having my morning coffee with God. I would separate myself from Jeremy and Jay, and I would just spend at least 30 minutes a day with God. So it's weird how that worked out. I will get into that and how I found God and things like that. But, I was definitely feeling some type of void as well. But I never blamed it on my marriage, or, I wasn't thinking divorce. Long story short, that was the last straw for my husband at the time. I wasn't there for him, he felt like, and he just wasn't happy. So I started noticing little things. He was switching up his wardrobe. Jeremy was throw on a hat, big t-shirt, some jeans, and some Target shoes, stuff like that. He was very typical. He went to work. He did online schooling. He was in college, things like that. And he was, like number one dad, pretty much. So I started noticing something was off when he was switching his wardrobe, throwing away everything that was just not name brand. He was starting to dress different. He spent more time on his self-care, if that made sense, getting ready for work. So those were all red flags. He started going out with friends that I wasn't really familiar with at work and with coworkers. He started performing in our, little city. I guess he was into like music when he was in high school, but he was 29 at the time and he hadn't done that in years. So it was just kind of like, what are you doing? He just started doing side things, little things. He was waking up in the morning having a beer, which is out of his routine. He was smoking, and it wasn't more so me being judgmental. He felt like I was judging him, but it was just more so like, who are you? I know who my husband is. This isn't you. Besides, all of those things that he was doing, I wasn't trying to like point him out or like, you know, it's just, I knew it wasn't him, if that makes sense, or he's changed, whatever the case was. Long story short, he came home one night from a performance, and again, that was after he mentioned divorce. He wasn't happy. We were trying to work on the divorce. He was coming home late, wasn't coming home at all. He got a message from someone, from a, you know, a name, and I'm not gonna put too much information out there, but he got a message and it just had a period. And I was like, what? Like, what does that mean? So, and I never go through his phone. I just remember I was kneeling next to him because he was so standoffish, like for the last few weeks. And I just knelt down and I looked at him. And in this moment, like I was finding God, I was praying a lot, crying a lot. And I just went on the side of the bed pretty much. I kneeled next to him while he was laying in bed. His like charger was here. This isn't the house that it was at or the apartment, but I'm just explaining. But I kneeled down and I was just looking at him, and that's when I got the message, or he got the message. And then just something came over me, like, look at it, look at his phone. So it was a period, and I responded with a question mark, and it was a female, like, where are you at? What are you doing? And I said, just got home. What's up? Or I said, just got home. And then she's like, oh, I'll let you go, ... So that was kind of like a red flag. So I was like, Jeremy, let me see your phone. And he was like, no. So he like went to Jay's room at the time. He slept in Jay's room. And, you know, at that point, there was so much built up. I was just like, you're not going to disrespect me in my home. You're not coming home at night. I'm your wife. You come home at certain times of the night. You know, you have females blowing you up. This is not normal. Mind you, there was other females sending him videos of that night of his performance, which I wasn't like tripping over. It's just I had a gut feeling about this certain one. As if she was texting in code. So I told him, like, you need to get out. Get those divorce papers ready then if that's what you want to do, but you're not going to disrespect me. You know, you're not going to come home late. You're not going to sit here and pretend like you don't have a wife, you don't have a son, you don't have a family. It wasn't more so of him going out. It was just a disrespect part of not telling me where he's going. He doesn't feel the need that, you know, I don't love you, blah, blah. Like, it just wasn't him. And that's not the person I married. So I'm not going to put up with it. So the very next day, he comes home, back to the apartment. Mind you, he's been staying at his parents here and there. Gets his stuff, all of his stuff. Moves right out. Just like that. Moves out of the apartment. So it's just me and my son at the apartment. Again, not coming home. Found out he was staying at his parents. I was trying to get advice from family, his family, things like that. And his sister was very helpful. She even recommended like checking his phone list. So long story short, checked his phone list. I see there's multiple calls at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Mind you, he stayed at a hotel one night and he told me that. And I was on the phone with him, like, come home, this, that. He's like, no, I gotta go. I'm tired. Well, that same night, I found out that the reason why he was rushing me off the phone was because he was on the phone with someone else for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours during the same time period. So I saw these long phone calls right after mine, back to back, that type of thing, very frequent. And I pretty much linked it together. So he works with the girl. And I find out, long story short, I'm not gonna tell you how, but I find out that it's a small world, you know, and I find out that that's her phone number. And of course, he finds out, I call him, he's with my son. I said, you literally just got off the phone, you just left the house and you're talking to her right now. Like, I just viewed the phone list. And my 3-year-old son at the time was with him. So he was having conversation in front of my 3-year-old with her and things like that. So I just found that so disrespectful. So, and mind you, he was, you know, he was like saying, no. So I was like, I will call her right now. I have her phone number and I will ask. So anyways, long story short, I did call her, which I'm not that type of person, but you know, when you're angry, things like that, you just do what you gotta do. So I said, you know, woman to woman, wife to wife, you know, she has kids of her own. I said, you wouldn't appreciate it if, you know, your husband was doing this and vice versa. And she said, no, everyone at work thinks we're talking to, but we're not, I can assure you. I'm like, okay, I would appreciate it if, you know, you didn't, you know, hit up my husband. Well, he hits me up, this, that, okay. You know, so at this point, I should have known better. I mean, I was fighting for my marriage, but at this point, like, I'm chasing him. There's no point of forcing it. If he's going to do what he has to do, then just let it go. Like, you should never have to chase a man. So That happens. Find out just, you know, down the line that he's messing up at work. You know, he's not doing so good at work anymore. Mind you, he's a great worker, great father, great dad. Um, Find out he's with this girl. They're partying it up in San Diego. He's just spending money on her. Mind you, he literally split our money. Like, we had like $10,000 saved up, 8,000. He split it right away, separated all the bills, took me off everything, life insurance, like literally within like 30 days or less. And mind you, I'm still fighting for my marriage. So he split up all the bills. He went to sign the divorce papers, turned it in. He only signed up to see my son Thursday and Friday, which again, he sees my son every day. It was just a totally different person, and I didn't recognize him. And just his priorities just weren't there anymore. It wasn't, you know, long story short, it wasn't the man that I married. And again, that was in 2019. Come October, the end of October, so many details happened in between, you guys, but long story short, I moved into my brother's. I had to be out my apartment in 30 days. He didn't help me move out. He barely called my son for like months. Found out when he did have my son on a Thursday or Friday that he barely had him, like, mind you, four times a month if you do the math. And not including the half days, but he had about four to 6 days throughout the entire month. He was pawning him off on his sister. He was going to Six Flags with the girl and his coworkers. Like, he just wasn't about his business, and he didn't see it for that. He just saw that I was being extra, like, you know, and it's just more so of like anger. Like, okay, you know, it took me a while to get over the divorce. Like, I felt like he didn't even try. We tried therapy for one day, and he's like, F this, blah, blah, blah. The therapist was even like, you know, what would your girlfriends tell you, you know? I said, they'd probably tell me like he's cheating and he's this and he's that. And he's like, yeah, like, so why are you here? You know? And I'm like, why am I here? So I was just going through this crazy mindset. It was on my mind every day. He told me he had feelings for the girl after a couple months, and he's like, I didn't leave you because of her. And he still says it to this day. And I'm just like, okay, like, it's just weird that the same girl that texted you that night and the same girl that went to your performance and stuff, like, and now you have feelings for her all of a sudden. It doesn't just happen overnight. So, you know, he still denies certain things, and, you know, that's his story and this is going to be mine, but I just feel like I know what it is. So, again, and then they're going out together, and then you hear stories at work, things like that. So he deleted me off Facebook, like, dropped my family, deleted all my family members as if nobody existed. And the way it happened was so crazy because it was just like that. Like, he just woke up one day and was like, nope. And then in a matter of weeks, my whole life changed. Literally, I was living with my brother. I didn't have my own home anymore. We weren't getting a house anymore. I became pretty much like a single mom. He barely had his son, so I had to figure that out. Just in general, I felt alone. I didn't feel like I was safe. I didn't feel myself. I was at my brother's house, and, you know, their family, you know, of course, but I still didn't feel comfortable. It was weird. And they made it so comfortable for me that it's crazy I didn't feel comfortable, if that makes sense. Me and my son. But it's just because that was my sense of home, you know? And during that time, I was traveling out of city to a different store. I was taking my son to daycare, which he'd be there for 12 hours by the time I had to get up, drive all the way to that city, work out there, come back with traffic, pick him up, like, and just do it all over again. I had to do that for a few weeks. So not only was I not seeing my son, I was not in my hometown, so I didn't know, like, you know, the scenery in general was different. I didn't have my husband. I was living, you know, with my brother. Everything was so, you know, and then he took, you know, a new car 3 days before he mentioned divorce. We got a new car, and he took the new car. So it was just a lot, to be honest. And during that time, I went through some crazy thoughts. Not anything like suicidal, like, thoughts or anything like that, but just crazy thoughts as far as every second I was reminded of him. I would be at work and I would see like a wrapper on the floor, and I, you know, oh, this, and then it would click into something else. It was crazy. I would even tell myself, like, stop thinking about it. Then I wouldn't think about it, and then I think about something small. I could see a water bottle. I could see a person. I could see, and it would just click. Everything would replay, and non-stop for months, back to back, you guys. 24/7, I was thinking of him. And I just felt like psychotic. I swear to God. Shouldn't swear, but I just felt super crazy. So I dealt with that, and then there was a point where I didn't realize that I stopped eating. Like, not as dramatic, I ate, but I just wasn't eating as much, to where I was kind of fasting. And during that fast, you guys, I was doing a lot of journaling. I was doing a lot of every day I would want to watch a sermon. I would be on YouTube looking up narcissism. I would be looking up church sermons. I would be looking up, how to fix your marriage, how to fix, divorce, or what is God trying to tell you. And at the beginning, I was like, God is trying to tell me, he's trying to challenge our marriage. This is going to make us stronger. This is going to get us out. And it's crazy, but that's what I felt, because I felt that that was right at the time. I felt like that would be the right message for the story. And although, some messages are like that, to where he is challenging certain people's marriages and stuff like that, and they become closer to God, I realized that that wasn't my story. And I'm going to get emotional, but I realized that that wasn't my story. My story was, overcoming this and getting through divorce with God on my side. Like, I don't need anyone else. And as much as I depended on Jeremy and I didn't realize it, he was my everything. I felt like my world shattered. Nothing else mattered. The home didn't matter. What I had didn't matter. My job didn't matter. Like, I was still doing those things because I had to be strong for my son. I still had to have an income, things like that. But nothing else at that point mattered but God. Like, I woke up and I wanted to pray. I had to pray. I needed to pray. I went to sleep wanting to pray. I urged to look for sermons. I literally started a journal, you guys. And I just went to the dollar store, legit grabbed a notebook and just started journaling. These are just like some sermons, but some of them are empty, but just pages and pages of, like, I don't know, messages, and then I was also journaling, and I started, it was kind of like a diary, and then I started journaling and things like that, and I started having dreams. God started speaking to me, and I know that sounds so crazy. Like, my grandma's really into church and things like that, and I was like, Grandma, what do you mean? Like, he's speaking to you? Like, that's weird, But I got it. There was one night I was praying, and I was getting ready to text Jeremy, and something came over me, and I was like, Kayla, like, be strong. It's okay. But I wanted to hear from him that he missed me, that he loved me, that he at least loved his son. If the marriage wasn't it, like, was it fake? What was this? Like, I really felt that. And I know better. I know that he loves me. I know that he loves my son, and like, when you have life together. But at that time, I had to feel it. And I'm crying, not because of like what happened, but like just how God works. And it's just crazy, because in that moment I had a long message ready to be sent, and I didn't send it. And then what happens? I get a message from Jeremy, and Jeremy's not a God type of guy. And he just goes, I just want you to know that I love you guys, and this doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean, pretty much saying like he doesn't want to get back with me, things like that. But it was just a few months later. It was like in January, and again, this happened in September. So he's like, I love you, and I'm sorry for the way things happened, and all that good stuff. And then at the end of it, he puts a black heart and a cross symbol. How is that not God? That I was looking for that message, and not even 2 minutes after of saying, I'll hold off, that he sends me a message. We hadn't talked. He sends me a message with the cross symbol at the end. Like, that just showed me that, like, God is listening. God is here. God is going to protect me. He's going to protect my son. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy. So that, like, my divorce story turned out to be the best thing that has ever happened to me. Like, yes, I went through pain. It was the worst thing that has happened, but it was the best thing that has happened, because I found God, I found true love in God, and a sense of independence, a whole other side of me that I seen. It's just crazy, you guys. I wish I could go over all of these. Like, I'm already at 20 minutes and I'm like crying. But I just had started journaling, vision boards. I started focusing on myself, focusing on God. Like, I'd wake up, I would just worship him. I would get some YouTube, enjoy my cup of coffee. I'm still living at my brother's at the time. And it's crazy because I would think back too, like, God put those certain people in my lives. My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, they were a great support system. You know, they understood where I was coming from. And yes, you know, we were like, how could he do that? This, that, and this, he did that. But it was also like out of love too. Like, they loved Jeremy. You know, my family loved Jeremy. It was also like from, you know, trying to be understanding for me, because they were seeing me hurt, seeing my son hurt, seeing what we had to go through. But they were also trying to put it in a way of like, I don't know, like we would pray for him, you know, we wouldn't want to judge him. We had our personal opinions, personal thoughts and things like that. But at the end of the day, we never like disrespected him in front of my son. We never, I don't know. But so the people that he placed in my life, like I had to be at my brother's and sister-in-law. That was the best place for me instead of being by myself, being alone. Because not only did they help me get through it and be reasonable and things like that, but they also, you know, felt my pain. They also had a support system. They used God's word to help me get through it. So, you know, we did church on Sundays, we streamed church, all those good things. So just looking back at it, God literally set all these things in place for me. You know, where me and my son were going to stay, that was very important for us to be there for that year. Very important for them too to be in my life. You know, my brother and my sister-in-law. Just all the things that lined up, like, happened for a reason. So long story short, I don't know. I just came on here to film this to kind of like tell you guys, you know, divorce happens. Sometimes God is trying to challenge your marriage, but sometimes God will allow it if, you know, if that person isn't ready. And, you know, we didn't really build our marriage on Christ. We believe in God, but we never put him first. And, you know, I think I was ready to put God first, and maybe Jeremy wasn't ready yet. So I couldn't go far with my journey in Christ, having Jeremy there, if that makes sense. That's what I would like to think. And, you know, at the end of this, it showed me a different kind of love for him. I don't judge him. You know, people make mistakes, things like that. I'm not saying he was right. I'm not saying, you know, that he was not wrong. He was definitely wrong. But I don't think it worked, because you could see that you did wrong, but, you know, where's your heart in that? And I just seen at the end of the day, like, his heart isn't there. His love for God isn't quite there yet, or he's not ready to take that journey yet. And that's okay. I'm not going to judge him. Like, everyone has their own story, but I'm ready for that, if that makes sense. I'm ready to start my journey with God. I'm not perfect, but I'm ready for it. I'm ready to embrace it. I'm ready to take it on. And I need someone, you know, if someone's going to be in my life, I need someone who's going to be ready to do that with me, ready to lead me, ready to lead my family, ready to put God first, live for God. So again, no one's perfect, but that's just my mentality, and I don't think his mentality is there yet, which is totally fine. And yeah, that's pretty much my story. I don't know if you guys have any questions, just comment below. Again, so much more to it and the struggles I went through, but I don't know. I just wanted to come on here and share, you know, what happened, and I don't mean to cry and all that good stuff, but that's my journey. And if I think of anything else, I'll add to the video. But again, I don't want it to be super long. I'm already at 25 minutes, and I just kind of wanted to show you guys and tell you guys my story. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I will be back with another video. Bye, guys.